What's up, folks? Welcome to the next day of this program. I want to say this is day 5 or video 5. So today I want to talk about containers. This is a concept that I introduced in the last video, and I want to go a little bit deeper into it today. And I want to give examples of a lot of different containers to introduce to a relationship in order to bring greater depth and or variety to the relationship. And this video, this whole series, I'm throwing out a lot of ideas. Like, there's no way you'd be able to implement everything that I'm stating, at least at one go around. And in this video, particularly, I have a sense that I'm going to introduce a lot of different types of containers. And so, take what works, take what resonates. If you're ambitious and feel like you can do all of them, do all of them. Okay, so a container. I believe I described what it was in the last video, but let me re-describe here, as I do want these to be standalone. So I would define a container as a set of, essentially it's just a set of agreements, actually. I think that's the basic description of a container. I'm going to describe a two-person container. You and the other person are interacting within a set of agreements. That's all it is. And those agreements have a lot of different aspects to them. So time is one agreement, like how long is this container going to last? Is it a minute? Is it 10 minutes? Okay, so that's one part of it. And then another part are like, what are the rules of the container? What are the rules of interaction? What are the rules of engagement? What are we actually doing in this container? So, for example, you could say any game is really a container. For example, there's this great game. Maybe I'll use this example. Maybe people have heard of it. It's called Avalon. It's really fun. It's one of my favorite board games. It's kind of like Mafia. But essentially it's like a board game where half of the people are bad guys, half the people are good guys, good people, bad people rather, and the bad people are like lying and trying to deceive the good people. So there's all these rules of engagement, but ultimately you could pick any game. I could have picked a simpler game. Truth or Dare. How about that? Truth or Dare. That's a container. The container is there's a set of rules. One person asks another person truth or dare, and they answer, they don't answer. Right. So another container might be I want to give you a massage for 10 minutes. Okay? That's it. That's the container. I'm going to massage you for 10 minutes. So, the thing about a container is it can be at more or less detailed. And I'll introduce another term here, which is the strength of a container. How strong is the container? And essentially what that means is if a container is strong, the person who is holding the container or like hosting the game, and it could be multiple people, but the person who's holding the container or hosting the game, if the container is strong, the other participants can completely relax and surrender into the game being played. They're not having to worry about time. They're not having to worry about the rules if other people are following them. No, the person who is holding the container, if they're holding it strongly, everyone who's playing within the container can completely relax. So one aspect of a strong container is time, for example. If the time is very tightly held, it's like this is going to be 10 minutes. I'm holding this container. We're going to massage for 10 minutes. I'll let you know when it's up. You do not have to worry about time. I'm handling that, right? Some containers might be a little looser, though, where it's like, yeah, it's 10 minutes, but like, maybe it goes over. Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe it goes to 11 minutes, whatever. I happen to have a taste for strong containers. There's a place for all kinds of containers, but I like strong ones because it means that you can really trust what's happening in the container. So the reason for creating a container, at least in this context, is within a container that has different agreements and rules of engagements, you're essentially introducing a new culture. And a culture is something I think about a lot. So, for example, my mom and I, we have a relationship. I would say there's a culture between my mom and I. There's certain ways of interacting, there's a certain type of sense of humor, there's certain expectations for how vulnerable we are. There's just a culture, and like if you witnessed it, you would witness a certain way of being. And that way of being you witness would be very different than between me and my partner. There's very different culture between us. The type of ways that I interact with my partner look different, they feel different, they sound different than with my mother. Now, my partner and I, sometimes we will play with the third person. And when there's a third person, the culture is different. The culture is different. There's a new person with new energy, and we have different relationships with him, and it's a different culture that we're operating in. Culture, like, businesses create cultures. They're trying to create cultures, ways of being, shared values, ways of interacting that people ascribe to. I find this concept really fascinating. That's why I co-built an intentional community that I live in, because I think culture is really powerful. So essentially the idea behind that was we wanted to co-create, or at least my desire behind it was I wanted to co-create a culture within which to live, because I recognize that when we're in different cultures, it illuminates different parts of our being. And so intentionally creating a culture, my hope was I could intentionally create a culture that brought out all the parts of my being that I wanted. Such as a culture that values honesty or courage or pursuing one's sense of purpose, etc. So now back to this container conversation. When setting up containers, essentially you're setting up a different culture to exist in. So I'm just going to throw out a bunch of examples. Like, I'm not sure if this concept seems abstract right now. It's one of those words that like might be kind of abstract, but once you understand what it means, you can use it and apply it in all kinds of ways, and it's a powerful word. And it's popular in like the at least the worlds of like intimacy coaching that I'm in, and my housemates and I, we use this word container, but we use it so often. It's a very overused word because it's incredibly useful once you can like kind of grok it. So I'm just gonna toss out a ton of containers. You'll kind of get the sense of what they are and what it means, and then you can maybe create your own too. So a container that okay, I'm just gonna toss out a couple of containers I've been with my partner recently. Some have just spontaneously emerged, and we've just decided this is the game we're playing. Some we've actually laid up before. Hey, let's do this game. So, eye contact. Great. You and your partner sit down 5 minutes. There's a million ways to do this. I'm going to describe a bunch of them. All right, one way, you sit down for 5 minutes, put on a 5-minute timer, and you just sit across from each other and make silent eye contact. Timer goes off. Boom, container's done. Then you talk about it. Right, that's a container. There's a way of being that exists in that's a certain kind of vulnerability and intimacy and seeing each other, and in the thing about containers in a partnership or relationship is if you inject this container in of making eye contact, yes, you have the experience and you have an interesting experience with each other and you get to share that experience and then talk about it, but also what you'll notice is if you do a 5-minute eye contact container and you spend the rest of the day with your partner, for the rest of the day, I would guarantee you will make more eye contact than on any other given day. Okay, think about that. If you plan a container with your partner and you make eye contact for 5 minutes, for the rest of that day, there will be more eye contact in your relationship than on a usual day. That's incredibly powerful. What that means is you can be intentional in introducing containers into your relationship, knowing that a container is powerful in and of itself because you get to have a potent experience with binds and confides that is allowing something new to emerge, and the container that you introduce is actually affecting the way of being of how you relate to your partner outside of the container. That's why containers are powerful, because you can introduce a potent experience, and that potent experience will actually affect and impact your relationship. Okay, let's just stick with eye contact for now. That's one way you can do it. Another way, 5 minutes, eye contact. And in this container, the rules are 5 minutes, eye contact. Doesn't have to be silent, but you can actually speak your present experience. So like, oh, I'm noticing I feel sad right now. Yeah, I'm feeling like I want to be a little baby and curl up into a ball and I just want you to hold me. Okay, right, something like that. And then what happens, anything can happen in there, but what ends up happening is you start to see dynamics that exist between you and your partner that you can feel into when you're like making eye contact with each other. Okay, another container that you can play with eye contact. And again, obviously you can make any of these up there. It's a creative process. One is container. Let's say 10 minutes for this one. Eye contact with partner, 10 minutes, whatever the amount. Again, you can speak what your experience is like, but this time we'll take turns throwing out dynamics to sit in. So, for example, let's say it's me and my partner, and the first one we're going to sit in, we're making eye contact, and we're going to sit in the dynamic of friend. What happens when we're making eye contact with each other and we're viewing each other as a friend? We sit in that. I'm viewing her as a friend. She's viewing me as a friend. Wow, this is interesting. I notice it feels like this. I notice I feel warmly about you. And blah, blah, blah. Okay? And then maybe after we agree, maybe whatever, after 2 minutes, or when it feels right, then she makes the next proposal. She can propose anything. Maybe she says, I want to view you as brother and sister, just to see what it feels like. And then we look at each other. Oh, wow. This is interesting. Like, when I view you as a sister, all of this gets illuminated. Right? And you can go back and forth. And the idea there is you can introduce dynamics to play with. I don't totally get how that one works, but I'll just let you know it's really powerful. It's super powerful. You can get creative. You can say, friend. You can say brother, sister. You could say husband, wife. You could say warrior. Like, can we see the warrior in each other? You could say, okay, you're a queen and I'm a servant. Or you could say, we're animals. You're a wolf and I'm a wolf. Or you're a wolf and I'm a rabbit. And just notice what it feels like. Like, for some reason, in doing this activity and like projecting wolf onto my partner and projecting rabbit onto myself, and she's projecting rabbit onto me and wolf onto herself, something happens where like I start to feel like the role and she starts to feel like the other role, and then it creates like a dynamic in our connection, and it's just really fucking interesting. That one is an interesting one too if you want to bring new elements to your sex life. Well, I should probably talk about that more later, but like you can bring different relational dynamics to your sexual engagement to make it more interesting. So for example, any of those I mentioned, like, yeah, maybe you and your partner have sex all the time, like this. This is what sex is, like this, and it feels good. But what would happen if one of you were energetically embodying a wolf and the other a rabbit? Like, how would that change the interaction? And you can get as creative as you want, but it actually has a profound impact on introducing new elements of chemistry, creativity, intimacy, sexuality. Okay, and I'll also state one more thing. It was interesting back a couple months ago when my partner and I were first choosing what label we wanted to use for our relationship. We essentially used that activity to pick a label. We made eye contact, and then we just tried on a bunch of different labels and just spoke real time what was coming up. So we said, what does partner feel like? Oh, partner. Interesting. I'm seeing you in this light. You feel like a collaborator. We feel like we're on the same team. Okay, and then we said, what does lover feel like? Oh, wow, this one I feel so present with you. I feel like I'm seeing deep into you. Okay, and then we tried on a bunch of them. We tried on husband and wife, wife and husband. I was both husband and wife. We tried on boyfriend and girlfriend. We tried on a bunch of stuff. And we ended up using partner. Although I remember I really appreciated lover. I liked that one a lot. But choosing a relationship label, that's a whole other conversation because there's complexity in presenting to other people versus how you yourself see yourself in a relationship. But anyways, that's an example of like using this type of container to also like do something productive in the relationship and make a decision. Okay, I'll give you a couple more containers. So I've already introduced a bunch throughout this, such as a massage container. Massage container where the whole goal is to communicate. Okay, so I'm massaging you for 10 minutes. Your whole goal is to tell me what feels good or what could be changed. Using the wheel of consent from the last video, that's a container. And you can even make it more simple. I'm going to give you a massage for 5 minutes, and I'm going to do it totally for my pleasure. Then I'm going to give you a massage for 5 minutes, and I'm going to do it totally for your pleasure. And let's talk about how those feel different, because they will feel different. Okay? How about a container where you're giving each other a genital massage? Where you massage my penis for 15 minutes, and again, you could do it for your pleasure, or you could do it for my pleasure. So that's another thing in a container. What is the intention behind it? You could give me a penis massage for the sake of exploration, for the sake of curiosity, and just notice like they'll all feel different. And that's something I totally noticed with my partner. Like genital massage is a part of our connection, And whenever like it feels like we haven't, our sexual engagement sparks haven't been flaring, if we just set up a container for a genital massage, uh, like invariably we will have a spontaneous sexual engagement that night or the next morning afterwards. It's the same thing where like if you introduce a container where you have eye contact, and you're more likely to make eye contact for the rest of the day. If you introduce a container where you're just opening up pleasure and sexual energy, that will be a thread that will occur later throughout the day. You can do weird containers. Like I've done containers with friends and partners where for 90 seconds, this one is fucking crazy. For 90 seconds, put on a timer. I'm just gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh hysterically, and you're just gonna witness me. And then turn it off. Time ends. 90 seconds. You laugh. You just laugh hysterically, and I'll witness you. Just like if you imagine if you were to. Okay, yeah, you get it. That one, it's uncomfortable. But if you can like burst through, something interesting will happen. And another example, I did that one with my partner, and then later that day, she had a spontaneous laugh attack emerge while we were talking. Like we primed laughter, and then it just like erupted, and then it made our relationship much more silly for the rest of the day. Other containers, witnessing. Witnessing is a great type of container. What is a form of expression that you want to open up more? Is it dancing, or do you like to dance but are a little timid? Okay, what if you put on one song, and then you said, for this song, I want my partner, this is the container. You are going to witness me dancing for one song. So put on the music. And then you talk about it. What did it feel like to dance and be witnessed? What did it feel like to witness? Or if you want to evoke more sexuality in your movement, maybe you put on a sexy song, and then you dance sexually, and you have your partner watch you dance sexually, and then you just notice what that's like. Or maybe, like this one would be a good edge for me. I like to rap. I like to freestyle rap. But it's something I just do by myself. It's a form of expression for me. And it's something that I feel timid about sharing with other people. And so a good one for me would be if I asked my partner, like, hey, I would like you to witness me rapping. I would like to freestyle rap, and I'd like you to witness me. Right? You could also do containers. I mean, I think you get the idea, though, right? Like, you can do it literally any type of container. I'll just introduce one more idea, which is you can do a container with cameras, too. I could ask you to... Well, I'm actually not going to go in that direction. I might open that up at a different point, but that introduces different elements. But the only idea I wanted to talk about there is, like, a camera can also provide being a witness, right? So if there's a form of expression that you want to open up more, recording yourself doing that thing and then sending it to your partner, or even not, but sending it to your partner will have the effect of de-shaming and opening up that form of expression more. So, like, if you did want to de-shame your sexual dancing, you could have an agreement with your partner, put on sexy music, set up the camera, record yourself, sexy dance for a song, and then end the recording, and then send that to your partner. One other good thing to witness, masturbating. That's a great one. Masturbate, or orgasm, or self-pleasure, any of that stuff, like, it's powerful to have that witnessed. Okay, so I think the idea of containers should be clear by, or more clear at least by now. And I think what I'm really trying to drive home is that container, all that, actually I have one more this is like the most foundational container. My partner and I will use this all the time, and it is the simplest container. It is a sharing container, and all it goes is, I'm going to speak for 3 minutes, and then you're going to speak for 3 minutes, and then I'm going to speak for 3 minutes, and then you're going to speak for 3 minutes, right? And just do that over and over and over again. That one is incredibly valuable. Well, for two reasons. One, if I just feel like I have a ton to share, that there's so much I want to share and process, and like it's helpful to like open it up, really valuable. Just like you can try it out. Some people don't like that one, but I find that to be like unspeakably valuable. The second place where that's super useful is if you have a conflict going on, something with some like chart that's a little bit charged. Dude, it is so useful to use that format for conflict, because what it happens is like often if you're in conflict and you're fighting or whatever, if you'll say something, your partner might get triggered and then jump in, and then it like escalates. But if you have this 3-minute block to just express, you get to say your whole piece, and then you get to feel like you're heard, and then your partner gets to respond and feel like they're heard. It just in my experience, it makes navigating conflict like so much easier. It is and really really valuable, and it's really simple. You don't have to use 3 minutes. You could do. There's a lot of ways to do it. I have one friend who likes to do 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. I'm not as fond of that one. I just like going 3 minutes back and forth. And then I'll introduce one more thought on top of that one. This is more of like kind of a coaching tool, but like I think it can be kind of interesting where like if I'm with my partner or a friend or whomever, and we're doing a container where I share for 3 minutes, and then instead of them immediately sharing for 3 minutes, they give me a reflection, and they say, a reflection being like something they noticed in themselves or in me while I was sharing. They might say, I noticed while you were sharing it, it felt like you had this like bottled up sadness that wasn't coming out, or whatever the reflection is. And so that's really useful. Hearing reflections can be very useful to hear insight about ourselves. So like, that's just another element you can add to a container. That was just a little random pop-in. Okay, so yeah, the point that I want to drive home is containers are powerful because the reason a container is powerful is because it's underlying the point that you have a lot more control or a lot more influence over the culture of your relationship than you might realize. You can impact the culture of your relationship. And obviously, like, there is some ineffable, mysterious thing that is just chemistry. Like, some people you just have chemistry with. Like, there is, like, a thing that's there. Like, you have a different starting point with different people. But if you use the concept of containers, you can move the culture of your relationship with your partner in the direction that you want to. And opening up a container can be an intense / peak experience in and of itself, and will give you a new and interesting experience with your partner. And so again, one way to choose the container, well, maybe there's a couple ways, but one way is just like, what do I want more of in this connection? What do I want more of in this connection? Maybe you can start with that question. Like, what do I want more of in my connection with my partner? I'm noticing I want a greater, like, spiritual connection with my partner. So what's a container we can do? And then brainstorm containers. Maybe it's you meditate with each other for 15 minutes. And see, like, that's just an activity. Most people just call that an activity, which it is. But I like using this broader umbrella of container because, at least in the context I'm speaking of it now, it's like a thing that we do together under certain parameters, with an intention behind it of impacting our relationship in a certain direction. So that could be one, or maybe it's like, maybe I want to make eye contact, or maybe we want to, whatever the thing is. Or if, yeah, okay, you get it. Cool. And the last point that I want to make is, as I was saying earlier, like, if you make eye contact, a 5-minute eye contact container with your partner, you will have more eye contact for the rest of the day. You can extrapolate that too. And like, more eye contact for the rest of the day means if you want that to be, okay, yeah, here's the last thing I'll say. I want to equate containers also to personal practices. So me, and maybe not everyone's like this, but me, I'm a big practice guy. It's a little bit, well, it's hard for me not to view it as excessive because it's so long, but I have a 3-hour morning routine I do every day. Not every day, I do it 5 days a week. And essentially it's like journaling, it's meditating, it's exercising, self-pleasuring. But what I want to state there is it's important because, let's just take meditating. I meditate, yes, because I like the practice in and of itself, and I find it interesting. But I know that if I meditate every single day, it will have an effect. Just like if I meditate one day, it will make the rest of my day, I'll feel more present, and I'll feel calmer, and I'll feel more in tune with myself. If I meditate in the morning, my day will likely be more that. So if I meditate every single day, it means my life will be more that, right? If I meditate every single day, I will be a more present person. I will be a more centered person. I will be more in touch with myself. If I self-pleasure every day, I will be a person more in touch with my pleasure. I will be more expressive. I will be more like in my life force. If I journal every single day, I will be a more self-aware person. I will be a more reflective person, etc. And so the same thing about a relationship. If you treat containers as practices also, and you don't have to do it every day, but you could try it. Like, what if that was a thing in your relationship? If you and your partner, what if you and your partner had a 10-breath hug every day you saw each other? Just like, hug, and you breathe together. You breathe together. Right? Like, what would that do to your relationship? Maybe it would make you as a couple a little bit more embodied, or a little bit more present with each other, or a little bit more whatever. Cool. Containers. Think about it. It's cool. And I would love to hear, well, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, or if you have ideas for containers that you find interesting or useful in relationships. Okay. That was fun. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.